This is a tutorial for Doctopus, an add-on for the distribution, collection, and cataloging of student work more effectively in Google Drive. Doctopus creates a shared folder system for your classes with individual sharing settings automatically set, giving specific editing permissions on folders and documents. It uses saved class rosters to distribute documents with various sharing settings for different purposes. It gives you complete control and ownership over student documents and visibility on students' process and collaboration. The reason I like using Doctopus is because it gives the teacher ownership over the documents and the folders. It organizes them in a way that makes sense for every student. You don't have students accidentally creating things in different ways or losing documents. Nothing can be deleted or lost because you have access to everything all the time. In this tutorial, I will guide you through the installation of Doctopus, how to create a roster, and then the process for distribution of a document. I will also look at the student access to folders and what they see from their end. So every time you begin distribution of an assignment through Doctopus, you're going to click New in Google Sheets. And the first thing to do here is to name it, because this is going to be the name of the assignment that students receive in their folders. So I'm just going to call this demo assessment or demo assignment right now. And this particular spreadsheet is only going to be for the distribution of this assignment. So if you already have Doctopus, you're going to go to Add-ons, Doctopus, and Launch. If you don't, you're going to go to Add-ons here, and you can find Doctopus. It's always at the top there. If it's not, just type in Doctopus and you can find it that way. And then you just add it to your browser. Now that you've got it, click Launch, go to Select Mode, and Distribute Drive Resources to a Roster. Now you select Roster. If you've already got a roster there, this is where you can just click that and it's automatically going to pull up that list of students with their emails. If you don't have that set up yet, you're going to build a roster. And the method here is on this sheet. When you click Create Roster, that's going to populate those first three fields with first name, last name, and email. You're going to have to fill those in from your records. Now one way you can do that is go to Manage Back and find your students and export to Excel. Once you've got those copied in, first name, last name, and email, there is another little thing you're going to have to do. Because of the change in the students' emails this year, you will actually have to revert to the previous email, as Trey mentioned in his email. So you have to change this. You can see the format there of the previous email. So the students will be using, even new students have this, this dual email. So they have the new form and the old form email. They need the old one in order to sign up for Google Drive or to use Google Drive. So once you've done that, you get to create your roster name. I go with Lang & Lit and then the course code here, and then create and share folders. And as you can see, it's already planning what the folders are going to look like. So once you're happy with that and you've got that checked, create class folders, and you click the red button, and it begins to create these folders for you. At this point, each student has a folder now shared with you, and your next step is to send a document. You have a couple of options for sharing. You can do individual all the same, individual differentiated, project groups, or whole class. Generally what you're going to do probably is individual all the same. And you can read the descriptions there too, in case you're wondering what each of those does. Individual all the same is basically taking a photocopy, a digital photocopy, and distributing one to each student. So these sharing settings you will probably leave alone most of the time, but it's a good idea to know what some of them do. Whole class access level Here you can actually give the entire class access to each other's documents. You can have it editable or comment or view only, and that's for like peer editing. Assign student access level. Obviously you want the student to be able to edit their own assignment, but you do have the opportunity here to change it to that they can comment only or view only. You can set it so that editors cannot change sharing permissions, which means students aren't allowed to choose who sees it and who doesn't, and only you can control that. I leave that because sometimes I do want students to share it with their classmates, for example. If you are co-teaching this year, you can add the emails of your collaborating teachers there to share the document with them. Now, at this point, you're going to choose the actual assessment or document that you'd like to distribute. As a default, Doctopus is going to select the teacher folder that it has created. However, you do have the opportunity to click choose a different folder and find the folder where the document you'd like to share is located. Now, if you happen to put the document into the folder after you have started this process, just hit refresh and then it'll show up here in the list. So I'm going to click Document Vignettes. That's the document I'd like to send them. Save and continue. Now here I'm going to click Create New Folder because Doctopus will then create a folder for that assessment that I can access and students can access in their folders and in my teacher folder. The same folder existing in two different places. So you'll see how that works in a minute. This is where you name the document. You can see that it's already taken its name, Demo Assignment, from this spreadsheet. That's where it draws the name from. You can change that here, but just so you know, just because you called that original document Vignette doesn't mean that this is going to be called Vignette when it sends out to the students. If you leave this spreadsheet untitled, it will be called Untitled when they receive it, and you don't want that mistake. So make sure you name it here as you would like to. I like to switch this around because I want students to see the title of the assignment first and then their name, which populates automatically based on these codes. First name, last name, first name there. So that's for my use, but I want them to see Demo Assignment first. So once you've set that, you're going to save and continue, and you'll get here, check your settings quickly, and run copy and share. Now Doctopus is distributing the document into the folders that it already created. And you can sit here and watch as they all get handed out. Fun. So several parts of this process can take a significant amount of time depending on your internet speed. I do recommend probably doing this at home. Okay, so all jobs are completed now. Every student has received an assignment sheet. I now have a couple of more options here. You might have to ignore this warning by Google again. But here you can see you can attach Gubrick. Now that's another add-on created by the same teacher that allows you to put a rubric on this document, which is it's a pretty handy tool, but having to put everything in Manage Back after this anyway and possibly assessing in Manage Back, it's not quite as useful. I don't recommend that necessarily. Now this is really helpful. Embargo docs for grading means that you can actually lock the document, remove editing rights from the students. So this is handy for deadlines if you want to cut off at a very specific deadline, make sure students can't work on it at home, anything like that. Hit embargo docs for grading and they can't touch it. They can look at it, they can't touch it. You can also transfer ownership to students there if you want to just be done with the document and they can do with it as they will. Now let's look at the folders you've got here. If you go into the Langenlit folder, that's the one that I named. Inside I've got a class edit, class view, Langenlit students, teacher, Langenlit there. Go into the teacher one. Doctopus has already put that spreadsheet in there. Every time I create a spreadsheet to distribute a document, it goes there. I put my document that I'd like to send in there, just so that I've got it all together. Now if I click on this assignment, I can see every single student's work in one folder. Okay, so that's an easy way to go through and grade an assignment. However, I can look at this in a different way. That same document exists in multiple places. So I can go to this other folder called Students, and now I can go into the individual student folders, and I can see all of their assignments in this one place. So every time I distribute an assignment, I can look at it as a class or per student. And now I've also got class edit and class view. These are handy because you can just drop any file in here. If you drop a file in this one, class edit means that students can do anything to this. They can share it, they can change it, everything. If you drop something in this one, class view, students can look at it, they cannot change it or move it or delete it. So this is great for subject overviews, syllabi, and texts that you want students to refer to or read. Okay, this is whole class. If I want every student in the class to read a particular story, I drop that text, that PDF in this folder. They can all read that. Or print a copy if they'd like. Now let's look at this from the student side. Each student will receive a folder that says the class name, in this example, Langenlit 8Z1F, and their name. So that's the folder they'll receive. For example, Talia here will have this folder. Inside that folder, she has a class edit, a class view, and any assignment that I sent her. The one thing that students have to do for the setup of this that can be a bit tricky is they have to simply go to Shared with Me and add the folder to their drive. And that's a simple two-finger click, add to drive. But they do receive several different things. For whatever reason, Doctopus shares with them this Langenlit name folder with their individual student name and class view and class edit separately, even though those are already included inside the name file, the name folder. So when you get students to do this, have them go to Shared with Me and only add the one that says Langenlit and their name. That's what they should add to drive. Then they will have everything they need organized correctly. So that's my run through of Doctopus. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I am more than happy to help anyone through this process who would like to try it out.